Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game Brews. This is the first episode of our brand new podcast. We are three nerds who love playing video games, and we want to sit down once a week and talk about what we want to talk about having to do with video games. I'm here with my two co-hosts, Steven, aka Ireland, and Dan, aka The Big Show. How are you guys doing today?
I feel good. I'm ready to defend Nintendo for the first time in my entire life, so
I might have to go at them, but we'll see what happens.
Just some background, if you guys can't tell, these devilishly good looks are also somewhat inherited in Steven. We are both brothers. We also grew up with Dan here, so some background. I first started, I would say, my console that I kind of grew up playing was more of the GameCube era. Of course, I played the N64, but GameCube was, where I, my brain was more developed, so I could comprehend those games. But
is
what
your
were
brain
your guys'
even developed now?
No, it's not. But what was your guys'
era? He doesn't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what we had to go through.
Melee. That was I remember losing a tooth playing Super Smash Brothers Melee. So that was my first memory.
Wait, did the game cause you to lose a tooth, or were you just happened to be at that point?
It was probably you smacking him in the mouth.
As I should have.
Over his ring to me.
So what was your guys' first games or consoles that you played?
Hit him, Steven.
So we actually got a Nintendo 64 when I was about 7. It was bought from a pawn shop, and our parents got Mario Kart. And they secretly played it before giving it to us. They're like, oh, this is kind of fun. And they're like, oh, here's this toy that's opened and all this stuff. They're like, oh, and it was the greatest. And then so we had Mario Kart, and we had Super Smash Brothers, and then I think we one of the ones was I think we went right into Pokemon Stadium from there.
I didn't know it was bought from a pawn shop.
Yeah, it was bought from a pawn shop. It was used.
I never knew that.
It's still kicking
I didn't know that. Okay.
And now my
Baldwin, what was your
use it.
introduction?
I mean, for me, I'm kind of surprised that you guys were not until GameCube and 64. I mean, I was playing on my buddy's Sega Genesis and SNES. Lots of Mortal Kombat, I remember. And I mean, the first console I owned was definitely N64. Lots of Mario Kart, just a lot of Mario Kart. I would say that's my beginning into gaming. Just so much Mario Kart.
Well, your sibling is older, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, but that was a female. She didn't play games. Oops.
We're trying to get our viewership is up. We're up 3% on female watch time on the channel. So
yeah, that's probably my wife. But anyway, I mean, I had older buddies. I mean, we played lots of Mortal Kombat, like Earthworm Jim. Earthworm Jim? Yeah. Why did I say that weird?
Earth.
Sega Dreamcast they had. So I mean, it was stuff like that. But in terms of my first console play, was definitely N64. Smash was huge. Smash was huge. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good. And I actually don't think I introduced myself. I think I went right into you guys. So my name is Daniel, aka Eisendale. So this is our first podcast, so we're really good at this already. But so there is Daniel.
Never see the light of day.
Yeah. So there's Daniel, Dan, and Steven. So that
why don't we, before we get too far, why don't we just give a quick, because there was a battle over who gets to use the name Dan.
I think we'll have to link the episode. I think I'll do a link on the episode of where you can see the match that went down. I think it'll be right above me. I think I planned that out right. So
okay, fantastic. Yes. Needless to say,
I don't recall this happening.
Yes. Anyway, moving on.
It was neck and neck for a while, but yes, we do. We do every Thursday night is game night with us, and that's one way how we've kept in touch all these years, because we do live in different states. So we do game night, and a lot of the times we film it, and Steven puts it on the channel that he has on YouTube.
That you're now on.
So
you're now on that channel.
That I am now on it. I know this is my first appearance. But yeah, Dan is ripping the merch right there that Steven has made. So he is a graphic designer. He went to art school, so
Art school. That's
he
so
could do all
triggering to
that.
me.
So each episode we want to talk about a different topic, something that's going on, current events in the game world, but also as part of the name says, we have Game Brew. So we are combining our love of video games and our love of alcoholic beverages. So we're going to start before we get into each topic for this episode. We're going to crack a cold one. So what are you guys drinking? And we'll crack them.
I've been waiting for this. I mean, this is about. I've got this beer out of the fridge like 30 minutes ago. It's taking you guys way too long.
What could have happened?
Drinking the Urban Chestnut Zwickel. This is a apparently it's a Bavarian lager. I don't know what that means. I'm not really a beer guy personally. I like to drink stuff that tastes like domestic but better. So I'm rocking the St. Louis made Urban Chestnut.
I'm also repping the St. Louis local with the STL Pale Ale from Ferguson Brewing Company. I literally picked this up on the way home from work, so it's fresh. Smells like the grill.
A location where we've gotten drunk many a time.
Never in public.
And I actually don't have a lot of alcohol in the fridge, and I was going to go buy some, but I found this way in the back, and it is a chocolate peanut butter imperial porter.
You gotta hold it more
really
center
good.
than that. I got a tight crop right above your mic. There you go.
It's called like the horny goat is who it's by.
Nice. Because it has
Really
horns.
miss me
I
with
get
all
it.
of that chocolate, peanut butter, caramel, Milky Way. Just miss me with all of that.
Yes, and so for our first topic, a little teaser was with this hoodie. I had to bust it
Oh.
out. Came from Target. It got the sleeve,
Oh,
and it was just the sleeve. But so
Who buys
as
that
all of you
merchandise?
gamers out there know, if you have the Nintendo Switch, they just released the retro N64 emulator with online play. And after they made this announcement, there has been a lot of negative criticism. And so we're going to take some of those big complaints and we're just going to discuss them, what our thoughts are. Do we think those complaints are valid, or do we think people are being critical? So
you've been hot in the online streets, my friend.
yeah. So what was your guys' reaction when you heard that they were doing this?
I was very hyped. I think it was like known that it was coming, so I don't think that was like too much of a surprise that they're doing it. Historically, some of the N64 ports have been hard to emulate, but we saw with the Mario 35 that they were kind of working with it. I think they're not like stolen, but claimed emulations from the community. And so that there's that part of the argument that like, oh, well, they just took the emulation that was readily available and sold it back to you. It's like, well, yeah, they can do that. It's there.
Yeah, it is Nintendo. But I mean, for me, I'm a super casual gamer at this point in my life. So I mean, I'm not downloading emulators. I'm not on Steam Roxors. I'm not doing any of that. No cloud gaming for me. I boot up my console and I scroll through the news and what is available. And yeah, I mean, I thought N64 games, I thought that would be something that they already had. So I mean, for me, hey, let's rock on. Let's get to it. Let's play some Star Fox 64. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I agree.
Yeah, Daniel's not a big fan of the Star Fox 64 multiplayer though, so that's pretty tragic.
No,
Sounds
it's
like somebody
hard.
got booty blasted.
It's just hard. I remember as a kid, I didn't like it. It was too hard. I thought maybe my brain had developed. It has not. It's still very hard, so I'm not a fan. But I did like the concept. I like the old games, and I just love the fact that the Switch is just becoming like a powerhouse of just like all of the games. It's so small, you can bring it anywhere. You can be like, oh, do you want to play N64 games? Do you want to play SNES games? Do you want to play Switch games? And so I'm just like, I'm all for it. One of the things we'll get into it. I'm just nervous. We'll get into it in a second. But Steven, can you break down the prices? That's one of the first things that everyone is complaining about. So how much does it cost?
So the normal price for the online, so this is an expansion pass, so it is an additional cost. So I've always had the family plan. So the family plan for a year, which is 8 accounts, which is a very big family. So there's like family, and Nintendo knows that.
Right. Thank you, Daddy, by the way.
Oh, I got you, babe. But that's $35 a year. So I'm not reverse engineering that math, because I'm really bad at geography. But it's cheap. It's cheap as balls. So
I mean, even if one, so for me, I mean, I came from like Xbox Live gaming back in the day. I mean, it used to be $50 a year, I believe, for one person. So, I mean, the fact that 35 for 8 people. I mean, come on, like, what are we even talking about here?
yeah, but for one person it was $20. So I was just checking that. Yeah, $20 a year. So $15, you can get 7 additional accounts. So I think you can
find 7 friends and split that cost.
Right. So that's just for baseline, which you got online for the mainline Nintendo games. Like you can still play like Fortnite and stuff online without the online subscription. But this added online to like Animal Crossing, I believe Super Smash Brothers, and games of that caliber. The NES, SNES libraries were kind of slow rolled, but they're pretty robust now. And you also have access to give them more money by buying the exclusive controllers, which has helped with scalping a bit.
Give Nintendo more money. What are you talking about?
Oh, I mean the audacity of like supporting a company that you want things from. So like honestly, for like that alone, like that price was fine. I think everybody was saying that that was a little cheap at the time. But now for a family plan with the expansion pass, it's $80 a year for the family and $50 for an individual. So really close to the older online video game experience. And with that, you're getting, as of right now, and I think this is something that's criminally overlooked. I don't really defend companies on the reg, but just we're going to live in reality. And this is just the first wave of stuff, and they are guaranteeing that they're releasing more N64 games out the gate, which they didn't have to do. And they have already included DLC for one of their games, so future DLC could be included for future games going forward. Something like Mario Odyssey free DLC. That might be worth the $10-15 on its own. I believe the Animal Crossing DLC, if you're buying it without the expansion pass, is $25. So I think the price is fine.
And did we say how much the price is for the N64 expansion?
Yes, it's $80 for family, and it is $50 for individual.
But it's all considered wrapped into the basic online functionality. So, I mean, so you're going from 35 to 80. Is that right?
Yes, for 8 accounts.
And my question is, can you play it if you're not on the Wi-Fi? Or do you have to log in on the Wi-Fi to play those games?
I think you have to check every once in a while. So, but I don't think if you're online, it doesn't check. But I think if you have X amount of time that you're not doing a check, that'll lock you out of it. But I mean, the experience is to be online. So, I mean, if you don't have on
N64?
Yeah. I mean, were you going to play by yourself?
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm talking about Legend of Zelda. If I want to play that, like, I'm playing that
Yeah,
through,
I think
and
you
if
can
I
turn
wanna
off
bring
the
it with me-
Wi-Fi and play or go camping or something, as long as you just, like, do, like, a check before you go kind of deal.
Camping.
Boy, have you ever
play it
played
in your
have you played the Switch outside and breathed
No,
like,
bro.
well, my God.
No.
Has
Why did
Dan
you do
gone
that?
outside?
Has Dan been outside?
First of all, I guarantee I've gone camping more times than both you guys this year. I can tell you.
Oh,
that
this
for
year.
sure.
That's
year.
fine.
I was about to
say,
be
I
like-
don't think so, buddy.
Yeah. Well.
We'd be gone for months.
Anyway, I think. I mean, again, I mean, the backlash about the price. I mean, I think we can couch a lot of that just in the fact that online is just children now. I mean, I don't. I mean, again, $80. I mean, if you have 2-3 people, I mean, hell, you could even get on Discord and just find random people to share an account with. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
what are we talking about here?
Yeah, Venmo me
I think more.
$10.
I think more of the backlash is probably just over the fact that Nintendo has poor online capabilities, just baseline.
Yeah, if you were complaining about the P2P system, valid. That's a garbage way to do online, especially when you're collecting money. Open your own servers and do it the right way. But maybe there's some security reasons for something like that. I mean, we've seen how like PlayStation has had some server issues. Oh,
Shut down.
What?
Shut down. It is 2021. There is no reason for this trash quality online. There's no reason why I should not be able to open up my Switch and immediately start a voice chat with my boys. That's ridiculous.
That's valid as well. The voice thing. I mean, you can get the Switch voice app on your phone.
Yeah, and that I was just gonna say, and then the fact that they want you to download an app for my phone. So I'm just not gonna do that.
And that's also getting into the fact that they did that update where they added Bluetooth, which showed that it was always in the system. They just chose not to have that. That was
the audacity, bro.
It was almost that they shouldn't have added that, like letting people know that was there. Yeah, they really. I mean, cool that they finally decided to add it, but the fact that they've been selling like a Bluetooth port so you could connect it, like the scam.
They
the
have not
scam.
been doing that. So those have always been third parties selling those. Just putting that out there. Now, if I was a third party vendor and that was the only product I had, I would feel like a little bamboozled.
True.
But that's going back to Nintendo's early stage in the 80s that like you have to be licensed by Nintendo for them to care at all about what you do. And if you go against them, you're getting left behind. And so we've seen a little bit of that.
Okay, and I think the next big complaint that we're seeing a lot of is the controller mapping.
Yeah.
People were complaining about the button layout, and one, that you can't change it, and two, they were complaining that the button layout that you're forced to play is not good.
Okay, so first of all, all of that is garbage, and you are absolutely fundamentally wrong if you say that. First of all, you can map your controllers. It is part of the operating system of the Switch. It has been part of the operating for the Switch. Now, does it have to be a Switch Pro controller or Joy-Cons? Yes. Again, Nintendo only cares about licensed properties, licensed vendors.
If you're not playing with a Pro controller, that's like
that's
akin to playing on handheld. I mean, that's just what are you doing? I think
I have a Snorlax controller though, so
a Snorlax controller.
It's pretty cool.
You don't have it within reach to show, so I don't even.
No, I'd have to sprint upstairs and downstairs, and that is not happening.
That sounds kind of tight. I mean, so yes, you can map the buttons. One thing I saw was that if you change the button mapping, it's like when you go back to playing. Like say you're playing your N64 games, you're going back to playing Switch games. You have to remap it like back to the original Switch buttons.
You have presets. You have to make a preset. So you just make a preset and you just switch between the preset in the home menu. You could literally pause your game, hit home, switch presets, go back into the same game uninterrupted. If they built it into the game, like into the app of N64, you would have to exit out of your game, boot up the remapping like portion of the game, remap, and then start over from where you were. Having it like you've already built it into your operating system, it's seamless as far as just naming your preset and swapping between them. Like, what I mean, and they could like if your grievance is like, I don't want to have to like manually swap between presets, I just want it to do it automatically. Complain about that, and then maybe they'll implement that in a operating system update. That's possible.
First of all, no, they will never respond to any complaints as long as I just saw a thing that they are one game away from having like the most copies of games sold for 10 million or something like that.
Wow.
It's like I mean, Nintendo, they don't give a about any of these customer complaints. As long as they are printing, or as long as they are printing money with the amount of consoles, the amount of games they're selling, they do not care. They do not care.
So my question is, and you might not know the answer to this, is if you change the mapping of your controller, does all 4 controllers on your console have to do that same mapping, or is it by controller?
It's tied to the controller.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
nice.
It was an update to the controllers themselves. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't done it, because there's no point in remapping it, and that's the second part of my argument, is that people are looking at the picture and they're like, that doesn't look the same. I was like, did you play the game? And when your thumbs fumbled for what it was telling you to do, did it feel right? Yeah? So what is your problem? Oh, they switched B and A to be what it says on the controller. Yeah, no, yeah, that's exactly what they would have done. Why, like, oh, but the N64 had them swapped. Okay, how many people actually played the N64 in the last decade and would remember that?
I was going to say, I wonder how much of the complaints are coming from people who actually are familiar with the N64 setup and people who are like younger who have just honestly never played the N64. Because the N64 had, I mean, outside of like maybe the Dreamcast, but even the Dreamcast was pretty similar to what we have now. The N64 was the most oblong, most weirdest controller that has ever been made in gaming. Like, it just, like, that makes no sense. If you show that to somebody now, that, like, what is that?
I actually have an explanation if you want it, because I am that big of a fucking nerd.
And our sponsor of the podcast is Critical Hit Coffee. Now, this combines 2 of the best things, which is gaming and coffee. And I am an avid coffee drinker, and I've actually been drinking Critical Hit for probably about 2 years now, even before they were a sponsor of this, so I am a good testimonial right there. They have great coffee mugs for sale, and right now their brew that they are selling is the Lost Exile Dark Coffee Roast. Now, I love dark roast coffee. That's what I kind of drink every morning. So their whole spin is to combine games. All of their coffee names have like these really epic video game names. Now, and if you like that logo right there, I think I know someone who might have helped design it or something. Someone who went to art school. I don't know about that. But
You're saying art
again,
school, I swear.
Go to criticalhitcoffee.com to go get your coffee right now.
The reason that the controller is designed like this for 3 hands is that the Nintendo came out, the 64 came out during the transition from 2D to 3D. So they were anticipating that half of the release library would still be 2D games. So it uses the D-pad. So when you plug in your 2D game, it's a transformer. So now you're playing 2D games. And then when you put in your 3D game, it transforms to playing a 3D game.
It was
the Switch
before the Switch.
It was the Switch before the Switch. You just
switch it up.
Switch. And you just switch to 2D.
Something that's interesting is my coworker is a couple years younger than me, and he got the N64 controller, and he says he had never played the N64, and so this was his first time with this controller, and he was just like, it's so odd. And I'm like, listen here, youngin, back in our day we didn't have these fancy controllers that were comfortable to use.
It's actually really comfy. Like, but
is it comfy because it's nostalgic for you?
No, literally, like, these are really long. Like, these are quite long when in comparison to a lot of things. Like they almost stick out, which doesn't have, like, with my PS4 controller, I'm like I don't have big hands. I have dainty artist hands.
It's long and compared to other things.
Yeah, you know, like, it's just like long when it sits in my hand.
Okay, continue.
But remember, still the memory. Did they, for this new one, did they make the joystick like softer?
Nope,
because I remember that thing hurting.
The same.
Yeah, the joystick was an awful experience.
That was all I remember.
Yeah, it's not
pain of pushing up long. Because the harder you push, the stronger you are.
Yeah, exactly. The more power you get.
That was the number one thing that always broke on all of my N64 controllers was that awful joystick.
Yes. I have them cropped out of the stream, but you two can see the controllers I started hanging up. Like those are destroyed. Like utterly, the joysticks are just hanging limp.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I will say I played most of the games already for the N64, and I haven't noticed a problem with the controls. I love the Ocarina of Time port, and I'm enjoying it.
I
haven't
feel
had
like that
any
was the
issues.
main game that I actually heard complaints about with the mapping. So you no problems.
No, I'm still killing the saving Hyrule, so not
I
having
tell
any
you,
issues here.
I tell you what, I was playing Star Fox 64. I didn't. It sounds like you guys have both played it. I did have some serious problems figuring out like how I was supposed
That's
to
just
do
'cause
like
the
my
game is
aerial moves and
bad.
stuff. What?
I do not like that game. I hate playing games. It's so hard. So that's just Star Fox.
Okay, bro, just leave the galaxy to Andros, I guess. Anyway.
Right, traitor.
I will always play. What's the pig
There's no pig.
or the
What's that
rabbit?
pig?
The
The rabbit,
rabbit.
Peppy.
Actually, there is a
Peppy.
pig,
That is my
Pigma.
go-to.
Yeah, Pigma. He's the enemy.
Pigma who betrayed Star Fox and Peppy.
Yes.
Or excuse me, Star Fox's father.
Boiler.
Well, that's
Yeah,
the old lore. That's not even in the game, so you gotta play through it, man. You gotta chug along.
That's absolutely in the game. You got it. It's like literally in the first episode or the first mission. But anyway, onward.
And so, what was the third big complaint that people were saying about the game?
It was
The online capabilities.
Oh yeah, people are well, and that falls into its PvP, but like the actual like ease of use is really wild. I really enjoy it because I'm not a software person by any means. But the way it functions to me is that basically whoever is like hosting, whoever's the main host, is emulating as if they have the N64 on. And then when people join, it's like they plug into that port on there and it's just like, okay, now I'm controlling P2 like just instantly. So it's like really seamless as far as that integration goes. But I think people were having like connectivity issues and whatnot. And I do say I have my Switch Etherneted, which everyone should do. It's just a dongle. I think it's like $20 to get the Ethernet thing. Absolutely worth it.
But again,
Yeah,
I mean,
I will say.
go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we played. We had a couple. We played Mario Tennis, Mario Kart. I like how it works, how fast it is to switch between games because our attention spans are short and just a couple rounds, and then you stay in your lobby together. And we didn't really have any issues. I mean, my Wi-Fi didn't reach my bedroom, so that was on me. But everything else was pretty smooth, and I like how fast you can switch it. And if you're not playing, I like that you can still spectate very easily. Like if you're joining in 5 minutes late.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to pick up on is, and just what you said, Stephen. What you said, there's like an Ethernet dongle that you have to buy in order to plug it up to hardwire it. I mean, again, and I'm a capitalist. I like making money. I like businesses that make good products, all this kind of stuff. But I mean, just the scummy thing about Switch is like, and just Nintendo in general, it's just the way they they try and like cheat people by going like, oh, we have such an easy price point, like just to work people in, and then they like sell like all this crap. It's like, oh, N64 controller, different controllers, Joy-Con, and some of it's just crap. Like, have they even addressed the Joy-Con drift issue? Like,
Supposedly the most recent ones that are hitting market might have a fix. I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, how old is this console by now? But that's besides the point. That's a
4
different
years?
issue. But I mean, just it's like there's like all these little attachments and all this little stuff that they're selling, and like, ooh, extra docks, and this one does this one does that. It's like,
I have a counterpoint. Point of counterpoint. I want you
No,
to
wait, hold on. I want to join in on this pitchforks. I've got my pitchfork. As someone who has been a loyal fan, I've bought all of the Wii U, all of the Wii motion pluses for $40 to attach to my thing, all of the nunchucks that were $40, all of the Wii Speak, the Mario Kart steering wheel.
The only person I've ever known that actually owned a Wii U.
Yeah, I bought a Wii U that I was betrayed because all the games I bought on the Wii U are now remade on the Switch. I will say I call Nintendo the Apple of video games. Because they just make stuff.
Yes.
Sorry.
But
now
no.
It's even, but it is too late for me.
It's too late for you. So, yes, they are the Apple of the console.
It's really good.
Yes.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, they are. That's valid. I mean, like, you can't just look at Apple and be like, well, they don't make money. Anyway, but I want you to go back and remember a time not too far ago. Xbox was really successful and they released their next console, and it's the 360. How did you get on the Wi-Fi?
That's true.
How did you hook your Xbox 360 up to Wi-Fi, Dan? Do you remember?
The original one that they released, I believe, was Ethernet only, and then the later versions you could hook up to Wi-Fi.
But how did you do it in the first one, Dan? How did you hook it up to? No, I mean, yes, you probably did, but if you wanted Wi-Fi, you had to buy a dongle. You had to buy a little antenna. I have. I think it's hooked up.
But wasn't that because technology wasn't there?
No, they just didn't want to include. They just didn't want to include a wireless card in there.
I reject that
because it was new technology and they couldn't fit it in.
Wi-Fi was not new technology. What are you talking about?
Hold on. I'm not calling it old. I'm not calling it whatever. But it was a decent amount of time ago. I don't remember being troubled by the fact that I had to plug it in to Ethernet or because back then, honestly, back then, if you knew that you didn't have a hardline connection available to you, then you probably just were not even planning on playing online. That was a completely different issue. Don't try and side. Don't.
No. Keep talking. I like what you're saying. So you were saying the convenient option of the time because it was readily available, and then having an optional accessory to do the less convenient option was okay.
I don't think I said that at all. Actually,
you don't think that was? You don't think that's what you said? So today, where Wi-Fi is readily accessible and it's quite easy just to hook up your device to Wi-Fi, having an optional accessory for something that not many people will do is landlining their Switch is not okay.
Hold on. No, hold on. Okay, and I don't know how long we want to stay on this point, but this is completely different. Ethernet, hardlining through Ethernet is the older technology.
Correct.
So, and whether Wi-Fi by now is old or new or whatever, that's besides the point. The point is that you cannot add on this extra thing to make Ethernet possible. Ethernet is the old one. Ethernet is the one that should be just standard. You should just have that little thing.
But it's not as convenient for a majority of households.
What household? Who cares about households? What are you
when you're trying
about?
to install your device into as many households as possible?
Here's my point. In the year 2021, both should be standard.
And you know what?
And you should have Wi-Fi capability.
And for $350, you can buy the Switch OLED, which has those things.
Okay, and then I'm interjecting here, and this might be a whole nother episode where I can go on a rant. But back to my Apple comparison, we're talking about
Reginald.
We're gonna change his caption to Reginald. What?
And so
Miyamoto over here.
Back to my argument that Apple and Nintendo are the same thing. That's what we're talking about. Ethernet, to Dan's point, is readily available. It's been the old thing. And then Nintendo's like, oh, we're going to create a whole new console and you can pay extra money for this port that has been a thing for years. And it's like, you just put it on the first one. And Yeah, I don't know if we could get into the whole OLED, but I said it from the beginning when they made the Switch. As someone who has been bamboozled by Nintendo, I was like, they are gonna come out with the Switch XL and the Switch Mini to make all these versions. Now, I thought they were gonna make the old Switch obsolete, so I appreciate that they haven't. But the OLED is not different enough for them to market it as a whole new thing. They could have really listened or really done something cool like a 4K Switch and just done something completely new. But I digress.
Well, doing 4K would make your Switch obsolete, and so that would make your current product not viable.
You could make it bump up your graphics when it's plugged and docked, and then it can go to 720p in handheld.
Oh, that would be so abysmal.
Okay, so now we're kind of trailing off into different stuff, but let me just bookend this with what I believe will tie this entire thing together. Nintendo has so many, and probably has honestly the most loyal fan base out of any of the major consoles at this point by now. Whether it's well, anyway, let me couch that. But the point is, Nintendo treats its most loyal fans like garbage just with the way that they do these kinds of things. Like, there's no reason for its online to be like 20 years behind at this point. Just like I said about popping in, about being able to do like these voice chats, whatever. And like, it's all just predatory in nature. Like, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to play multiple people in Smash from my one console. It's like they market themselves as like a friendly entry, like a party, family-oriented console, and they do not set up their games to actually operate in that way. So that the final point is just that they do not treat their most loyal fan base like with any kind of respect.
I
have an argument. Oh my god, I want to go there.
I will
every single dollar.
No, I will sum up with my piece. I will sum up my piece, and then Steven, you can do your finishing thoughts. But I will piggyback. My last thoughts are: I agree 100% with Dan. I said this earlier to our other brother that Xbox 360 had the right mechanics years ago. You could make multiple accounts. You could sign in. Each controller could be on that account. It was like you were your own person, and you could play Halo online with 3 people, 2 people, 4 people on one console and play with other people. That is how it should be. If Nintendo wants to market themselves as the party console, why can't I have 2 people over at my house and we play online with 2 other people? So that is my big complaint, especially because if you were a loyal Nintendo person like myself, if you had Super Smash Bros. Wii U, you could do 2 players on one console online, and then they took that away for the newest Super Smash. So be consistent. Yeah, you could do 2 people online from one console and play with other people. And so why would they take that away? It doesn't make sense. You have it.
Because the console didn't
And now
sell.
you're charging.
No one bought the console. Your loyal fan base let you down.
It wasn't because they had 2-player Super Smash. That is not why the console didn't sell.
I think
because it sounded too similar to the original console. I'm having these are my final thoughts.
Give him his time.
Okay, these are my uninterrupted final thoughts. Make it so I can play with as many combinations of 4 players at my house as I want. I love the N64 retro games. I'm glad they're doing it. My other concern is, and Steve and I were talking about this earlier, I am worried with it being a cloud system that I would love, like the way this Switch is setting up, it could be like something you pull out years from now and like have this whole arcade of games. And I'm so worried after the Switch is said and gone, they'll shut down the online service and then all of those games will disappear. And I wish they could somehow just put it on my Switch so I can play it as long as my Switch turns on. So I would hope that they would do that. Steven, your 10 minutes.
In my 10 minutes. Oh, thank you.
I will not like you did.
No, but yes, they should put everything on physical cartridge. I'm a big physical media proponent, that's valid. But to the point that the Switch is the most, I think it's about to be the most successful Nintendo console, flat up. And the Wii U had a lot of the stuff that you guys were talking about, as far as like it was really like experience friendly, it was really consumer like oriented, and it didn't sell. And so when you have to get the money to pay your people to make the great games and the great stuff, you have to make compromises, and you have to make a product. So we're also seeing a component of the handheld line has been dissolved. There is no Game Boy. There is no Nintendo DS. So all of that money has to also be generated by the Switch. And so the only way that is going to happen is like, just like when everybody had their Game Boys and their Game Boy Colors, everyone has one in their hands playing it for themselves with everyone around them. And so like it's still a party console just the same way. Like there's no link cables, there's no batteries, but it's still the handheld with some console like features. So I think if that helps you guys like rationalize the marketing methodology and the production methodology, it's really the Nintendo DS. It's the new Nintendo DS. It is the new handheld console for everyone in your family to have multiple versions of it. I know, Daniel, you bought like the DSi, the DS Lite, the DS2 XL, like all of those things are what was successful, and they just adapted that to their like main console and made it one console, and they could bring all the developers that they had on the B teams and stuff like that. So logistically, it's all the right moves. Could they be more consumer friendly? Yes, but it doesn't make them the money. It actually almost killed all of Nintendo with what the Wii U did. So
I mean, I would just argue that me personally, because back when I was huge into gaming, it took me like, how long did it take to find a Wii? I tried to get a Wii for like 2 years, and I was never able to get one. And I was just out. I just stayed with Xbox. And by the time the Wii U, plus I thought it was a weird concept anyway. Like, I get they're trying to do their whole thing, but like they went away from trying to be hardcore gaming people, which is fine. That's cool. By the time the Wii U came out, I was like, this looks ducking stupid. Like, I'm not even interested in whatever they're selling right now. And by the way, and whatever, I'm not gonna beat this to death, but so just from the front page of the Nintendo Switch subreddit, so just three points real quick. And this is what I was saying earlier. Nintendo Switch is one title away from having the most 10+ million games sold of any console in history. Number one. Number two, Nintendo Switch has now sold 92.87 million units as of September 30th. So crazy. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is now the entry's best-selling entry. So I would argue that people are showing up, they are spending money on this stuff, and it's time for Nintendo to get it together.
yeah, and stop milking them.
Give the people what they want.
Valid.
Stop milking us. Give the people what they want. If they want to charge more for it, charge more for it. But like, they need to get it together. Rest my case.
I agree, because I love the products. I like the stuff. I just think that they should spend
Games
a little
are
bit more
awesome.
time. Yeah, and just implement, like, take a look at the Xbox 360 and just do everything that they did. Everyone can sign into their own account. If you want to pay for the account, that's more money for you right there. You can get 10 accounts on one system, and just let me sign in with all my friends at my house.
Yeah,
And the
it's
fact that
not even-
in the Wii U, they implemented 8 players on one console. That's amazing. So just, I don't know.
It's not even like we're asking for Star Trek technology. It's like, let me start like a group chat from the instant I turn on my Switch. Like, this is 2009 technology. Like, get it together, man.
Yeah. Yes, they're on the right track. I feel like they're doing way better than what they were doing with the Wii U. And I will argue, as a marketing major, the issue with the Wii was how they marketed it, because even when I ordered it, I didn't know exactly what it was. I thought it was a gamepad. I didn't know it was a whole new console, because they were like, oh, you get to use your old controllers. It was just marketed really weird, but I digress. So did you guys... Yeah, it was fun. I loved it. I gave my console to Steven, and it was really cool. It has a whole TV remote feature and Netflix and stuff, and when I was in college... Right, but at the time, it was just like really handy, and we all used it every day because that was like our Roku video game console, and it had 8-player Smash, and that at a college dorm, literally we would bring it out in the lobby, and 8 people. It was just amazing, and it made me sad that they just like it didn't do well, and they just didn't market it. But anyway, do you guys have anything more you would like to add on this subject?
No, I think we beat it to death. As long as the only other thing I have is like the Nintendo YouTube community really jumped on this for the views, and I think made some trash arguments. So I'm glad that we jumped in on the argument to tell them that they made some trash arguments. So
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I think that yeah, just the clickbait was kind of stupid. I mean, if you do, just play the games.
play it
Like,
first. That's what really like emotionally bothered me and like very frustrated. Like, why as like, and these are like, I'm not gonna name any names, but like these were esteemed. They still are, I guess. They're esteemed Nintendo personalities. Not that they're affiliated, but that like they're known as the Nintendo people, and they're like, all of these problems is like, but I haven't played it yet. Like I haven't even downloaded it yet. I'm like, boy,
right.
excuse me.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't had time. I could make this YouTube video, but I didn't actually play the thing that I was critiquing.
Right, referencing all these like Twitter arguments and stuff bro.
Bro. I was like, oh, that 9-year-old made a good point. I'm going to take that and make a YouTube video with it. Like, okay.
Right.
Well, I appreciate all of you guys who listened to our first episode. Please comment below if you've played the N64 version and what your thoughts are about it. We would like to hear them. Please just in the comments, we like to hear just all different sides. This podcast will be released once a week on the Funky Games YouTube channel. And so we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Funky Games, and then the GameBrew podcast will be a sub playlist in that channel. So please like, subscribe, and then also let us know what you guys would like to hear us talk about in the future. I think we kind of covered a lot of Nintendo this time, so I think next time we'll try to talk about something else other than that. But
yeah,
again, thank you all for listening.
Next week, I am spitting some hot fire about the Halo Infinite trailer, like literal hot garbage. So Microsoft, we're coming for you, brother. You better watch out. 343, you're about to be
Devastated.
3-4 dead meat. Yeah, I don't know what I was going with that, but anyway, proper outro.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for listening, and you guys remember, like, subscribe, let us know what you want to hear. We'll play us out with the song.
Funky.store.
Funky Store, yeah, they've got
Funky.store.
rep the shirts, all that stuff, and the music will play us out.